Just another brother with another humble question. Just another brother with another humble question.
Welcome to A Brother with Questions. I am your host, B. Period. Thank y'all for joining me. Please, before we get going, let me ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Everything is A Brother with Questions, man. Check us out. Let us know what you're thinking, man. Don't forget to comment, too. Comment, like, share to your friends. Let's go, man. Let's grow this channel. Man, we're going to dive in, man. This is a video. Joy Reid. Joy Reid was interviewing, as you can see it down at the bottom there, one of the co-founders for Moms for Liberty, which is, as you can see, they're a parental rights group. They basically help advocate on behalf of parents to be able to help them be able to go into school boards and state board of education meetings to advocate on behalf of our children. The main focus that they're talking about in the video is the advocacy that they're doing about trying to prevent racy books that are inappropriate for children ultimately from being in schools. And so they're having a conversation about that. Let's dive in and listen to this conversation.
LGBTQ parents and parents of LGBTQ kids, do they have parental rights?
Every parent, Joy. Every parent means every parent has the fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children.
And liberal parents? Do liberal parents have those rights as well?
All parents, sure.
So let me point you to some statistics, because the question becomes then who gets to decide what all kids get to read? The Washington Post took a look at about 1,000+ book challenges that were filed, and they found that they were filed nationwide by just 11 people. Each of these people brought 10 or more challenges against books in their school district. Together, these serial filers constituted 6% of all book challengers, but they were responsible for 60% of filings. In Florida, Tampa Bay Times, they found that of roughly 1,100 complaints recorded in Florida since July 2022, we're talking about more than 700 just from two counties, Escambia in the Western Panhandle and Clay County together.
So if you're paying attention, I don't know how much you guys are paying attention, but there's been a lot of controversy, especially 2023, 2022, about the books that are in school, right? You pay attention to TikTok, you see all kind of parents going to meetings and complaining, reading some of these books that are supposed to be appropriate for children. And like I said, Moms for Liberty is one of these advocacy groups. They have a main organization, and then that organization ultimately have branches. And these are one of the things that they do. And so Joy Reid is obviously confronting one of the co-founders here about books being banned. So we'll keep going.
Those are less than 3% of the public school enrollment, 600 of those complaints, 2 people. Why should 13 people get to decide what books tens of thousands of children get to read?
Well, I'm thinking it's probably because those 13 people saw what some of the content was in the books. I mean, explicit, graphic, sexual content. And I'm happy to talk about some of that content if you'd like to.
Well, this is the question again. The books that are being banned, I want to give you just
No books are being banned.
Hold on a second.
Well, no, Joy, but I want to be clear. No one's banning books. Write the book, print the book, publish the book, put the book in the public library, sell the book, right? We're talking about a public school library. Children don't have unfettered access to the internet at school. I did a FOIA records request, and I wanted to see what kinds of internet sites are banned in schools, if we're going to talk about banning, right? And the subject matter in the books that moms are concerned about are the same things that kids don't have access to on the internet. So it just feels very hypocritical, right? No, why is no one out there protesting for, free the internet in schools?
Let me give you
Which is interesting, right? So even in my state, Florida, there's a lot of conversation about different books being banned. And I like the way she framed that conversation. No one's saying you can't write a book, print a book, sell a book. They're saying, why does that book have to have access within the public library system of a school, right? So you can have whatever books you want, but they're just arguing, aren't there some books that just should not be in the school library? Isn't there some things like the school library just shouldn't have? Some conversations that you just shouldn't have in the school library? No different from, like she said, there's certain websites that you can't even go on and on a school computer, or I'm a teacher, so I can't even go on certain websites as a teacher. So why is it okay to ban websites, but all books should just be available in the school? Like, come on, there's gotta be a balance here of the type of conversations or the type of books kids have access to.
An example of some of the books that have been removed from shelves as a result of the activities of organizations like Moms for Liberty.
We're not going to talk like Moms for Liberty. We're going to talk specifically
Moms for Liberty. Absolutely.
So I'm happy to have this conversation with you, Joy.
Absolutely.
But we're going to be specific about the actions of Moms for Liberty.
Oh, 100%.
Because I can't be possibly responsible for every single parent in America.
But your organization is the lead. You're the leading organization that's doing this. You have chapters all over the country, and other organizations are following your lead. And PEN America has they have posted the list of books that have been removed from shelves as a result of these activities. Let me just read you a couple of them. Anne Frank's Diary of a Young Girl. Mouse, which is a book about the Holocaust, a graphic novel. Genderqueer, a memoir. All Boys Aren't Blue. Beloved, Martin Luther King Jr. and the March on Washington. Ruby Bridges Goes to School. Slaughterhouse-Five, The Color Purple, Forever by Judy Blume. I could go on. These are books.
Now, what was interesting, one of the things I did before I began to watch the video is I went to Moms for Liberty's website to look for the list of books that are supposedly being banned, and there was no list. So, it's interesting that she's got a list here that supposedly Moms for Liberty is banning, but yet there's no list of banned books on their websites. There's no list of books on their websites. The only thing on their website is what they are doing, which is advocating or giving a voice to parents and tools for parents to be able to advocate on behalf of their children for books that they think are inappropriate to be in a school library. So it's interesting that she's listing off these set of books, claiming that this is what they're doing, although they have no books or a book list on their website. So, who's tricking who here?
That are not only popular, in some cases are classics. Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. Let me give you an example.
Well, I'd like to answer your question.
Please do, yeah.
Yeah, so you just mentioned a list of books. And so Moms for Liberty doesn't have like a national book list. There was never a list of books that we put out and said, parents, be concerned about these books, right? We didn't do it because we want our parents to be effective advocates. So when moms are going into the libraries in the schools, when they're seeing what their children have access to, when they go to speak to the superintendent or the principal, they have accurate information, right? They're
and where are
effective
they getting
advocates.
Their information from?
You can just go online to a catalog in your children's library, and you can see what
without
books are
reading
available.
the books. What is one moment? What is booklooks.com?
I'm aware of a website called booklooks.com where parents can go and see some of the books that other parents are concerned about.
Booklooks.com has been used in Florida extensively in counties like, I used to live in Broward County. I lived there for 14 years.
Okay.
In counties like Broward, counties like Clay, counties like Escambia, Moms for Liberty activists are using booklooks.com. And it's essentially a cliff notes for books.
Yeah.
So you go through without even having to read the book. I'm going to just hold it up so our audience can see what it looks like. This is the one for All Boys Aren't Blue, which is one of the books Moms for Liberty has pushed.
Everyone should go and see the content in this book. That's such a good idea.
And so what happens is you can do keyword searches and find certain keywords.
Like rape.
You can find
or anal rape or dildo.
You can find all sorts of
types
keywords.
of words. But like,
wait, hold on. Wait. Let me finish my question.
Okay,
Then
great,
you can answer.
sure.
I'm going to give you time to answer, but I got to ask you first.
No, yeah, I got the question.
And so what you find is the keywords that you find, the N-word, anything, words like you just used, then you'll get out of context passages from the book. And then based on that, Moms for Liberty members are going to places like Broward County School Board meetings, reading out of context passages from these books, and then demanding that the school board remove them. So what's
interesting about what Joy Reid is saying here? So first, she's accused Moms for Liberty, who has no book list on their website, because if you go to the website, they are advocacy group. So they do actually have a national meeting that they do every year, and they haven't been doing it long because this organization, at least the national meetings that they've been holding, I believe I saw the first one was in 2022. So not a long, they haven't been around here a long time, but even at their national organization, it seems from the information that I read, they basically are advocacy group that teaches parents how to advocate for their students on behalf of themselves, right? So I'm a parent. I saw that there's XYZ books available in my son's or daughter's library. And so now they're going to give me some tools that I can use so when I go to the school board, when I go maybe talk to the superintendent to say, hey, here's some things that I saw. Can we talk about this? Can we maybe get this book removed because it has this kind of content in it? Honestly, where's the problem? And so, Joy is obviously bringing up this particular website that some people have used, but it's that trick where it's like, so now I'm responsible because somebody else created a list that they didn't like. Well, that's not my list. So how are you going to hold me responsible for somebody else's list just because someone who claims to maybe believe in advocacy like we teach uses their list to go advocate? That's not on us, because our role, Moms for Liberty, their role is to teach you how to advocate. And so you can't get mad because now a parent understands how to advocate. That's the whole point of their movement. Parents do have a right to speak up about what their kids are reading in school. Quite frankly, it's a great thing that parents are at least looking, because I know a lot of parents that aren't. So it'd be a great thing. I think it's a great thing that parents are at least looking. Now, again, are they going to make some mistakes as parents because emotionally you might be one way or another? I'm sure they are. But the fact that they are at least speaking up, if we don't want parents to participate in the process, we are already in the wrong. Because successful education needs parents. But let's keep going. But it's interesting. You saw the book that she's using as an example. I want you to hear in this video what this book is about, and we'll go from there.
That is the way.
Yeah.
The question I'm asking is, what is the expertise that you have and other Moms for Liberty advocates have to decide that a book, an award-winning book like All Boys Aren't Blue, isn't appropriate for students to read? What is your expertise?
What a tragic story.
All Boys Aren't Blue. So this is the book, and she's going to talk about this book in just a second. But her question was, who are you to decide, or what expertise do you have to decide that a book is inappropriate for your child? I'm a parent. That's my expertise. I'm a parent, and as a parent, there are certain things that I want to protect my child from. And if I see some of those things in the school, then it's my right as a parent to speak up on the things that I see in that school. Period. What are we talking about, man? What are we talking about? We're begging. The educational system is begging for parents to be involved. And then as soon as the parents get involved, but you don't like their involvement, now it's a problem? Come on now. Come on, let's keep going.
Of a young man who's anally raped by his adult family member. So you have incest, rape, pedophilia. Joy, you said you'd let me answer, so I'm going to answer
Please
for you. In what context is a strap-on dildo acceptable for public school? Just that's my question to you. Tell me what the context around the strap-on dildo or the rape of a minor child by a teacher.
Hold on a second.
No,
wait,
we're talking about public school.
One moment.
All right.
So now you've asked me questions.
Sure.
I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
Well, who is the main character? What's the name of the main?
You see that? She asked her a question about the content of this book, and the first thing she wants to talk about is who is the main character. Like, ma'am, the woman just told you they're talking about a man's experience being raped, about a man's experience being abused by a teacher, about a man's experience of having someone violently take advantage of him. And rather than answer her question about the book, you want to go into a diatribe about understanding the context of the book. Are you kidding me right now? This is what I'm talking about with these people.
Main character in All Boys Aren't Blue.
You're asking me right now.
You just
to
gave
name-
me very specific information about this book, so you're presenting yourself as somebody expert.
It's the gentleman.
Hold on.
The main,
who's the main character in the book?
The main character is the author.
What's his name?
George, I believe, is his first name.
Because you're giving me very specific information that is.
You're asking me to remember the name of an author.
You
the
just
name
remembered
of the author
very
doesn't
specific names.
joy.
Here's my
We're
question.
talking about
Here's my question.
You didn't answer my question.
No. I'm going to answer your
Great.
question.
I would love to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm interviewing you and you're not interviewing me. So let's just make sure it's a conversation. Okay,
great.
So what I'm saying to you is that as you are not an expert in this book,
I don't have to be an expert to know that dildos aren't appropriate for public school. I mean, come on, let's get real.
That's the thing. You're not an expert. What does being an expert having to do to know that I don't want my child being exposed to a man's experience as a child of being violently raped? What expert do you? I don't need expertise to know that that's not what I want my child reading. Are you kidding? This is the insanity of these people. Because here's the thing that I was thinking about as I watched this video. I'm like, so of all the books that were on, this list that you're reading, the one book that you thought that you should highlight as being most inappropriate for someone to ban was a book about a man's experience being raped multiple times by as a child by teachers and other adults in his life. It sounds like from what they're describing. That's the book that you said, you know what, when she comes, I'm gonna ask her about this book. And I know, and I bet you I know why. Looking at what she just had at the cover and seeing that there was a picture of a young black male, I guess, advertising this book. I bet you the author's black, which is why she figured, yeah, see, you trying to get this black author who's telling his experience about being raped as a child. Nobody wants their child to read that. Adults don't want to read that. Now, I'm sure it was a great book, and I'm sure his life experience, and he's probably grown greatly from that. But come on, that's not what you want your middle school, your high school teacher, your student reading. Not. If you want to go buy it for him, But at the public, in the school system, that's what you want on the shelf. That's the argument we're making here. Got to be kidding me.
The full context story, as you said, of the author's experience. Why is it your right or a Moms for Liberty activist's right to say that a parent who wants their child to have access to this book, which gives a personal experience of this author, why doesn't a liberal parent, for instance, or a parent of an LGBTQ kid, why don't they have a right for their child to just have access to this book? Why is it your right to say they can't?
So again, we're talking about incest, rape, and pedophilia.
And each parent, each parent has to decide what is appropriate for their child to read. So I want you to answer. I'm going to ask you one more time. Right. What is your right to tell a parent who wants their child, who might feel seen by this story? Why don't they have the right? Why don't they have the right as a parent to say, my child can have access to this book?
If a child feels seen by this story, that means that they have been the victim of a predator. That means that they have either been raped by a family member, they've experienced
and your proof of that is what?
You just said that
What's
if a child feels seen by this story. You're
now making assumptions.
This is where she owned her, and she I don't even know if she thought about what she said before she said it. So you're talking about a child being seen by the story. Well, in order to be seen in the story, you have to feel some kind of camaraderie or some kind of experience with the author. And if the author's describing his experiences as a child of being raped by a family member, or being molested by a teacher, that means that's what the child has experienced. This is the fallacy, the problem with these people and their arguments. Like, what is it that you really want our children to be seeing for you to argue about this book? Like I said, she said she had a list of books there, but the one book she pulled out to have an argument about was about a man's experience of having essentially a horrible childhood that was violated and abused beyond belief. And this is the book you felt like you needed to argue what right do they have to tell somebody that this book shouldn't be in the school system. You know what? What right do you have? And I don't know if she has kids or not, but what right do you have to tell me that it should be there? What right? Again, if a parent wants their kid to read this, the book is for sale. Go buy it for your kid. Nobody's telling you not to buy this book for your kid. But to argue this is a book that should be in the school system for anybody to just go pick up and read, come on, man. If we don't have standards, what do we have? Because clearly, I doubt very seriously the English teacher is going to make this required reading. And if they do, what are they thinking about? So what rights do they have? You know, we got to decide in this country what we want. Do we want parents to have a voice in the school system? And by a voice, I mean an opportunity to speak up about what your child is learning. You know, again, as a teacher, I want you to have a voice. I want you to know what your child is reading. I want you to know what your child is studying. So when I look at organizations like Moms for Liberty, who is simply giving parents the tools to have an argument about what their child is seeing, in this case, obviously we're talking about books. Hey, man, are they going to get it right 100% of the time because maybe they don't understand the context of what you're trying to do? I'm sure there's going to be some issues there, and that's fine. That's where you have a discussion. But as an educator, as a school system, you can have a discussion about why a particular reading tool is being used, and you can bring out the context tools, right? You can break down the lesson. You can give the standards that it's associated with and explain it. But when you bring this book out, come on, there's no standard here. Like, what are we talking about? And these are the fallacy, these are the arguments they make that don't make any sense, and then look at everybody else like, what's your problem? Why they can't read this book? Because that book is not appropriate for children. I wouldn't want my high schooler reading that book. Now, again, if they get out of school, they want to go buy it, or they ask me to buy it, maybe I'll buy it, read it first, and then maybe give it to them. But do I want them to be able to just walk into any public school library and just pick this off the shelf? And please, I need these people to do better in their argument. Not Moms for Liberty, their advocacy group. They're doing what they're doing. They're giving parents tools. Keep doing that. But when you have people like a Joy Reid who will argue on behalf of a book that, again, most adults won't read, but yet you're arguing for children, I can't take you seriously. Because I don't know what you're thinking. And if you think this one is appropriate, what else are you thinking is appropriate for my child? Which is why I'm glad you're on TV making a fool of yourself and not in somebody's classroom. And on that note, man, I'm out, man. I'm B. Period.